"A hunter like that deserves to pass on his genes," said the alien Huntress in awe. The dense jungle of Nexus 7 pulsed with life as David Drake crouched in the shallow river, his torn dark shirt clinging to his muscled frame. 6 days of survival without weapons or equipment had honed his senses to a razor's edge. His beard was short but unkempt, and his wavy brown hair was matted with sweat and mud. The sound of rustling leaves caught his attention. In one fluid motion, he submerged himself behind a partially submerged log, leaving only his eyes above the water's surface. The movement was silent, practiced, the mark of someone who had learned to become one with their environment. A flash of pale blue skin through the foliage made him pause. A humanoid figure emerged from the jungle's edge, moving with predatory grace. She was tall and athletic, with long, flowing white hair that cascaded down her back. Her attire consisted of strategically placed dark fabric that left little to the imagination while still maintaining functionality for hunting. The alien Huntress carried a spear with a glowing blue tip, her eyes scanning the riverbank with practiced precision. David remained perfectly still, analyzing her movements. She wasn't just any hunter. Her posture and the way she read the environment spoke of years of experience. She stopped at the spot where he had been standing moments before, kneeling to examine his footprints. A smile played across her lips as she traced the marks with her fingers. "Impressive," she murmured in perfect English, her voice carrying a musical quality. "No human has ever evaded me for this long, especially not without weapons." David considered his options. She knew he was human, which meant she had been tracking him specifically. The question was, why? He decided to take control of the situation. Rising slowly from his hiding spot, water cascading off his form, he spoke with quiet confidence. "Maybe you're not as good a hunter as you think." The alien Huntress spun around, her spear at the ready, but her expression wasn't hostile. It was one of fascination. Her eyes traveled over his form, taking in every detail of his survival-hardened appearance. "By the star," she breathed, lowering her weapon, "you're even more magnificent than the report suggested. I've never seen anyone survive the trial grounds without equipment. Most aliens die within the first day." David stepped onto the riverbank, keeping a respectful distance. "Trial grounds? Is that what this is?" She nodded, her eyes gleaming with increasing interest. "I am Kyla Katal, Chief Huntress of the Nexus Trials, and you, David Drake, have just become the first human to not only survive, but thrive in our most challenging hunting preserve." "You know my name," he said, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. "I'm flattered, though I usually prefer a proper introduction before someone decides to make me their prey." Kyla laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in the wind. "Oh, you were never prey, David Drake. This was a test, and you've exceeded every expectation." She moved closer, her movements fluid and graceful. "Do you know what happens to those who pass the trials?" David tensed slightly, ready for anything. "I assume they get a nice certificate and a pat on the back. They earn the right to join the ranks of the galaxy's elite hunters," and she said, then added with unmistakable admiration, "Though in your case, I might be interested in a more personal arrangement." David studied Kyla's expression, noting the mix of professional admiration and personal interest in her gaze. The jungle around them seemed to pulse with an electric energy that matched the tension between them. "A personal arrangement?" he asked, maintaining eye contact. "I'm intrigued, but also cautious. Where I come from, we usually start with dinner first." Kyla's melodious laugh echoed through the clearing. "Oh, you humans and your charming customs. But you must understand, David Drake, among my people, proving oneself in the hunt is far more intimate than any shared meal." She moved closer, her spear now casually held at her side. "You've demonstrated strength, cunning, and adaptability beyond any candidate I've ever evaluated." "I'm sensing there's more to these trials than just testing hunting skills," David said, noting how the sunlight filtering through the canopy made her pale blue skin shimmer. "Indeed." Kyla's eyes sparkled with mischief. "The Nexus trials serve multiple purposes. We seek not only the greatest hunters, but also those worthy of continuing our bloodlines." David raised an eyebrow. "So this is basically an elaborate dating service?" "Crude, but not entirely inaccurate," she admitted, circling him with predatory grace. "My people believe that exceptional traits should be passed on. And you, David Drake, have proven yourself exceptional in every way." The air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities. David found himself both amused and intrigued by the situation. "And what makes you think I'd be interested in this arrangement?" Kyla stopped directly in front of him, close enough that he could feel the heat radiating from her body. "Because you're still here, still listening, still interested." Her voice dropped to a husky whisper. "And because I can offer you things beyond your wildest imagination." "Such as a?" David maintained his composure, though his heart rate had definitely increased. "Knowledge of the stars, access to hunting grounds across the galaxy, a position of respect among my people." She paused, her eyes traveling over his form appreciatively. "And of course, the honor of being chosen by a chief huntress." Before David could respond, a distant roar echoed through the jungle, both of them tense, instantly alert. "Nexus beast," Kyla said, her expression turning serious. "They shouldn't be in this sector." David's survival instincts kicked in. "How many?" "At least 3, judging by the sound patterns." She gripped her spear tighter. "This is unusual. They're pack hunters, but they never ventured this close to the trial grounds unless something's driving them here," David finished her thought. "Or someone." Kyla nodded grimly. "My thoughts exactly. It seems our courtship may have to wait. We have more pressing matters to attend to." "Any chance I could get a weapon?" David asked, already scanning their surroundings for potential tools or advantages. Kyla reached behind her back and pulled out a sleek hunting knife, tossing it to him with fluid grace. "Consider this your first courtship gift," she said with a wink. "Try not to die before I can give you the second one." David caught the knife, testing its weight. Perfect balance. "You know, where I come from, jewelry is more traditional for courtship gifts. And where I come from, weapons speak louder than trinkets," she countered, moving into a defensive stance as the roars grew closer. "Besides, I've seen how you handle yourself unarmed. I'm curious to see what you can do with a proper blade." The jungle around them grew eerily quiet, the calm before the storm. David positioned himself back to back with Kyla, their bodies moving in perfect synchronization without need for words. "Just so we're clear," he said, his voice low and intense, "if we survive this, I'm still expecting that dinner." Kyla's laugh was both delighted and dangerous. "Survive this, and I'll give you a feast fit for a legendary hunter. But first," she tensed as branches cracked nearby, "let's show these beasts why they shouldn't interrupt a courtship ritual." The first Nexus beast burst through the foliage, a massive creature that looked like a cross between an earth tiger and a rhinoceros, with iridescent scales instead of fur. Its 6 eyes glowed with predatory intelligence, and its horn crackled with bioelectric energy. 2 more emerged from different directions, effectively surrounding them. David felt Kyla's back press against his, her body radiating both heat and deadly focus. "Any tactical advice?" he asked, knife at the ready. "Yes," she replied, her spear humming with energy. "Don't die. I've already decided you're going to father my children, and I'd hate to have to find another candidate." David couldn't help but grin despite the danger. "Well, when you put it that way..." He shifted his stance, preparing for the fight of his life. "Let's give these beasts a show they'll never forget." The largest Nexus beast charged, its horn crackling with lethal energy. David and Kyla moved as one, their bodies flowing like water as they prepared to face the onslaught. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was their first dance as potential mates, and neither of them intended to miss a step. The largest Nexus beast lunged forward, its bioelectric horn crackling with deadly energy. David rolled left while Kyla spun right, their movements perfectly synchronized as if they'd trained together for years. The creature's massive bulk crashed through their previous position, splintering a fallen tree. "Their horns conduct energy," Kyla called out, her spear deflecting a swipe from another beast. "But the scales under their throat are vulnerable." David ducked under a sweeping tail, his borrowed knife glinting in the filtered sunlight. "Good to know. Any other weak spots I should be aware of?" "Just watch how I move," she replied with a sultry undertone that somehow made even Mortal Kombat seem flirtatious. "I'll show you everything you need to know." The second beast charged David, but he had already anticipated the attack. Using the techniques that had kept him alive for the past 6 days, he waited until the last possible moment before sidestepping. His knife found the soft spot beneath the creature's jaw, drawing first blood. "Magnificent!" Kyla exclaimed, her own spear dancing in lethal arcs. Such precision! Such timing! The wounded beast retreated, shaking its massive head in pain and confusion. Its companions grew more cautious, circling the pair with calculated menace. "Something's wrong," David said, noting the beast's unusual behavior. "These aren't normal hunting patterns. They're too coordinated." Kushla dispatched her attacker with a perfectly placed thrust of her spear, so the weapon's energy pulse temporarily paralyzing the creature. "You're right. These beasts have been enhanced, modified." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "This reeks of Clan Drathnor's interference." "Friends of yours?" David asked, using a fallen branch to parry another attack. "Rival!" She spat the word like venom. "They've opposed my position as Chief Huntress since my appointment. They believe leadership should be hereditary, not earned through skill." The largest beast suddenly reared back, its horn releasing a massive energy discharge. David tackled Kyla out of the way, their bodies rolling together across the jungle floor. They came to rest with him, protectively covering her, their faces inches apart. "My hero," she purred, seemingly unfazed by the deadly situation. "Though I believe I'm supposed to be evaluating your survival skills, not the other way around." "Maybe we can call it mutual evaluation," he replied with a roguish grin, helping her up. "Though I have to say, your rival's timing could use some work." "Oh, I don't know," Kyla said, readying her spear as the beast regrouped. "Nothing proves compatibility like fighting for survival together. And you, David Drake, are proving yourself more worthy with every moment." The largest beast's horn began crackling again, but this time David noticed something artificial about the energy pattern. "Those energy signatures, they're being controlled remotely." Kyla's eyes widened in understanding. "The river cave. There's an old monitoring station there. If Clan Drathnor has accessed it, they could be using it to control these creatures," David finished. "Any chance we can reach it?" "Through that passage," she pointed to a narrow ravine. "But we'll have to deal with our friends here first." David studied the beast's movements, his tactical mind working overtime. "I have an idea, but you'll have to trust me." A human I've known for less than an hour, asking for my trust while facing certain death. Kyla's laugh was rich with excitement. "How could I possibly refuse?" He quickly outlined his plan, watching her expression shift from skepticism to admiration. "That's either brilliant or suicidal," she said, gripping her spear tighter. "In my experience, the best plans are usually both." He positioned himself, ready to move. "Ready? Born ready, my fascinating human." She flashed him a predatory smile that sent shivers down his spine. "Show me what else you're capable of." David charged directly at the largest beast, appearing to make himself an easy target. The creature predictably launched another energy blast, but this time David was ready. He dropped and slid beneath the beast's belly, his knife slicing through the control device he'd spotted attached to its underside. Simultaneously, Kyla vaulted over the confused creature, her spear striking the similar devices on the other two beasts with pinpoint accuracy. The creatures immediately stopped their attack, shaking their heads as if awakening from a trance. "Now run!" David grabbed Kyla's hand, pulling her toward the ravine as the disoriented beasts stumbled about. They sprinted through the narrow passage, their hands still clasped together. Behind them, the Nexus beasts, now free from control, began fighting each other in confusion. "Remind me," David said between breaths as they ran, "to thank your rivals for this unique courtship experience." "Oh, we'll thank them properly," Kyla replied, her voice promising retribution. "No one interrupts my mate selection process and gets away with it." They emerged from the ravine near a weathered stone structure almost completely covered in vines. A faint hum of energy emanated from within. "The monitoring station," Kyla confirmed, her expression hardening, "and I can guarantee we'll find evidence of Clan Drathnor's treachery inside." David tested the ancient door's strength. "Any chance they left a welcome mat out for us?" "Better," she said, pulling out a small device. "They left guards. I can hear them inside." Her eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Care to help me express my displeasure?" "Wouldn't miss it for the world," David replied, readying his knife. "Though I have to ask, is this technically our first date?" Kyla's laughter echoed off the stone walls. "Oh, my dear human, this is merely the prelude. Wait until you see how my people celebrate successful hunts." The monitoring station's interior hummed with ancient technology, casting eerie blue shadows across the weathered walls. David and Kyla moved silently through the corridors, their bodies instinctively in sync. 3 unconscious guards lay bound behind them, evidence of their efficient teamwork. "Well, well," a deep voice echoed through the chamber. "The upstart Chief Huntress finally arrives, and with her, unusual choice of mate." From the shadows emerged a tall, muscular male of Kyla's species, his skin a deeper shade of blue and decorated with ceremonial markings. Behind him stood several members of Clan Drathnor, their expressions a mixture of disgust and curiosity. "Lord Carnivore," Kyla's voice dripped with controlled disdain. "I should have known you'd be too cowardly to face me directly. Controlling Nexus beasts? How disappointingly primitive." The clan leader's eyes narrowed. "You dare speak of primitive? You who would dilute our bloodlines with human stock." He spat the word like a curse. David stepped forward, his stance relaxed but ready. "Funny, I didn't hear any complaints when I was systematically dismantling your little pets out there." "Silence!" Carnivore roared, then composed himself with visible effort. "This is a matter of tradition, of preserving our species' strength. The position of Chief Huntress has always belonged to Clan Drathnor." "Until I proved myself more worthy," Kyla countered. "Or have you forgotten how thoroughly I defeated your champion?" A calculating smile spread across Carnivore's face. But circumstances have changed, haven't they? By choosing an alien as your potential mate, you've invoked the ancient rites of challenge." The other clan members murmured in agreement. Kyla tensed beside David. "He's right," she said quietly. "By our oldest laws, when a Chief Huntress chooses an outsider as mate, any clan may challenge their union through ritual combat." "Let me guess," David replied, his voice equally low. "If we lose, you lose your position. Worse," she met his eyes, "I would be forced to mate with their champion instead, to preserve the purity of our bloodlines." David felt a surge of possessive anger that surprised him with its intensity. "Not happening." "The human shows spirit," Carnivore laughed. "Perhaps he'll provide some entertainment before my son claims his prize." A younger male stepped forward, nearly as tall as his father, but leaner, his movements predatory. His ceremonial armor gleamed in the dim light. "I am Rethvor," he announced, "champion of Clan Drathnor, and you're better in every way human." David assessed his opponent with practiced ease. "Impressive title. I'm David Drake, the guy who survived your jungle without weapons for 6 days and just took down 3 of your enhanced beasts." "But hey, nice armor." Kyla's delighted laugh echoed through the chamber. "Oh, my chosen one has quite the sharp tongue, doesn't he?" "Almost as sharp as his hunting skills." "The challenge must be accepted within the hour," Carnivore declared, ignoring their banter, "or you forfeit your position and your choice of mate." "The term?" Kyla demanded. "Traditional hunt combat. No energy weapons, no support tech. Just skill against skill." Carnivore's smile turned cruel. "Unless the human fears facing a true warrior." "I accept," David said before Kyla could respond. "But I have one condition." "You are in no position to make demands." "When I win," David continued as if uninterrupted, "Clan Drathnor publicly acknowledges Kyla's right to choose her mate and permanently renounces all claims to her position. In writing, witnessed by all clans." The chamber fell silent. Such a demand would effectively end Clan Drathnor's political ambitions forever. "And when you lose," Rethvor stepped closer, "your death will be slow, and I will ensure Kyla watches every moment before she becomes mine." "Charming family," David commented to Kyla. "I can see why you didn't invite them to our first date." "The terms are set," Carnivore declared. "The challenge begins at moonrise. The hunting grounds will be the Valley of Ancestors." As the clan members filed out, Kyla pulled David aside. "You don't have to do this. There are other ways." "Hey," he cupped her face gently. "I didn't survive 6 days in your death jungle just to let some spoiled princeling claim my potential mate." Her eyes sparkled with emotion. "You truly are remarkable. Most aliens would have fled at the mention of ritual combat. Most aliens haven't seen what you can do with that spear." He winked. "Speaking of which, any chance you could give me a crash course in your combat traditions before moonrise?" "Better," she pressed against him. her voice dropping to a sultry whisper. "I'll teach you our mating dance. The knowledge could save your life tonight. The combat is based on your mating rituals. Everything in our culture is based on the hunt and the mating dance," she explained, beginning to move in a slow, hypnotic pattern. "Watch carefully, my brave human. Every step, every gesture has meaning." As Kyla began teaching him the intricate movements that would mean the difference between life and death, David couldn't help but smile. Somehow, fighting for his life in an alien ritual combat seemed worth it, just to see the fierce pride in her eyes. The Valley of Ancestors glowed under twin moons, ancient stone monoliths casting long shadows across the ceremonial grounds. Hundreds of blue-skinned spectators from various clans gathered around the ritual circle, their excited whispers creating a symphony of anticipation. David stood at one end of the arena, stripped to the waist, his muscled form decorated with traditional hunting marks Kyla had painted on his skin. Each symbol represented an aspect of their brief but intense courtship: survival, combat prowess, and the promise of strong offspring. "The marks suit you?" Kyla purred, making final adjustments to the ceremonial belt she'd given him. "They tell our story to all who can read them." "And what story is that?" he asked, enjoying her touch as she traced one of the symbols on his chest. "That of a human who survived our deadliest trials, fought beside me as an equal, and proved himself worthy of being more than just a mate." Her eyes sparkled with pride. "The marks declare you a potential founder of a new bloodline." Across the arena, Rethivor performed elaborate warm-up exercises, his ceremonial armor catching the moonlight. His supporters chanted traditional battle songs, their voices echoing off the valley walls. "Remember," Kyla whispered, her breath hot against his ear, "the combat ritual mirrors our mating dance. Every attack is also an invitation, every defense a response. Show them how a true hunter moves." David nodded, recalling the intricate patterns she'd taught him. "And the winning move?" Her smile turned predatory. "Must be decisive enough to prove your dominance, but elegant enough to honor our traditions. The victory should be..." She pressed against him suggestively, climactic. "Attention!" Carnvor's voice boomed across the arena. "The challenge of bloodlines begins now. Combat continues until submission or unconsciousness. Death is permitted but discouraged." Pause for effect. "The winner claims both the chief huntress and the right to sire her offspring." David stepped into the ritual circle, his movements fluid and controlled, just as Kyla had taught him. Rethivor entered from the opposite side, his stance aggressive and proud. "Traditional opening positions," a ceremonial elder called out. Both combatants assumed the starting stance, the pose of mutual assessment. David noticed Rethivor's slight surprise when he executed it perfectly. "Begin!" Rethivor launched into a series of traditional attack patterns, his movements precise and powerful. But David had spent the last hours learning not just the forms, but their meaning. Each strike in the ritual combat was meant to demonstrate the attacker's worthiness as a mate. Instead of simply defending, David incorporated movements from his own combat experience, blending human martial arts with the alien mating dance. He turned Rethivor's aggressive lunges into opportunities, using the alien's momentum against him while maintaining the ritual's elegant flow. "Impossible!" Someone in the crowd gasped as David executed a perfect counter sequence that wasn't part of their tradition, but somehow fit seamlessly into the combat dance. Rethivor's frustration became evident as his attacks grew more forceful but less controlled. David continued his hybrid style, each movement both effective and aesthetically pleasing, demonstrating both combat prowess and understanding of their customs. "He moves like water," an elder commented loudly. "See how he honors our forms while adding his own strength?" Kyla's voice carried across the arena. "Watch closely, Clandrathner. This is why I chose him. This perfect blend of power and adaptation." David seized an opening, executing a complex grappling sequence that ended with Rethivor temporarily stunned. The crowd murmured in appreciation. The move had perfectly mirrored a critical part of the traditional mating dance. "Your human learns quickly," Rethivor spat as they circled each other. "But learning a few dance steps doesn't make him worthy of continuing our bloodlines." "No," David replied calmly, flowing into another attack sequence. "Surviving your jungle alone, defeating your beasts, and now teaching you new dance steps. That's what makes me worthy." The fight continued, becoming more intense as both combatants demonstrated their full capabilities. David took some hits but remained focused, waiting for the perfect moment to implement the winning strategy he'd developed. When Rethvor launched into the most aggressive traditional attack sequence, the Dominance Declaration, David saw his opportunity. Instead of the expected defensive response, he stepped into the attack with a move that combined a human martial arts throw with the most intimate part of the alien mating dance. The execution was flawless. Rethvor found himself airborne, then slammed onto his back in a position that, in their culture, symbolized complete submission to a superior mate. The impact knocked the wind from him, and before he could recover, David had him pinned in a hold that perfectly mirrored the final position of the mating dance. The arena fell silent. Then Kyla began to laugh, a sound of pure joy and triumph. By all the ancient traditions, that was perfect. Did you see? He used our most sacred mating position to establish dominance. The elders convened briefly before announcing, "The victory is valid. The human has demonstrated both combat prowess and cultural understanding. His claim is recognized." Carnvor's face twisted in fury, but with hundreds of witnesses, he could not dispute the outcome. Clan Drathnor acknowledges the victory and renounces all claims, he ground out through clenched teeth. David helped Rethvor to his feet, a gesture not required by tradition but appreciated by the observers. The defeated champion gave him a respectful nod before leaving the arena. Kyla practically pounced on him, her body pressing against his sweat-slicked form. "You magnificent creature," she breathed, using our most intimate dance position as a combat finale. The elders will be talking about this for generations. The celebration following the ritual combat transformed the Valley of Ancestors into a festival of lights and music. Bioluminescent flowers bloomed around the ancient monoliths, their soft glow mixing with the moonlight to create an ethereal atmosphere. David, now dressed in ceremonial robes of deep blue and silver, sat beside Kyla at the head table of the feast. Various clan leaders approached to offer congratulations and gifts, their previous skepticism replaced by genuine respect. "Your combat style was extraordinary," an elderly huntress commented, presenting them with a ceremonial blade. "You honored our traditions while showing us new possibilities. This is exactly why we seek strong genes from beyond our worlds." Kyla beamed with pride. "I knew from the moment I saw him survive our jungle that he would bring something special to our people." "Speaking of special," David whispered to her between greetings, "I notice everyone keeps mentioning genetic potential. Is there something about human-alien compatibility I should know?" Her eyes sparkled mischievously. "Our scientists have long believed that human DNA has unique adaptive qualities, but no human has ever proven worthy of joining our highest bloodlines until now." The celebration continued with traditional dances, each one telling stories of great hunts and legendary matches. David recognized elements of the combat ritual in every performance, understanding now how deeply intertwined hunting, combat, and courtship were in their culture. "It's time for the blessing of union," an elder announced as the second moon reached its peak. Kyla stood, extending her hand to David. "This is where we prove that your victory was more than just combat skill." They were led to a private chamber within the ancient temple, its walls covered in bioluminescent patterns, snow that shifted and swirled. The air was heavy with exotic incense, and soft music played from unseen sources. "The chamber will respond to our compatibility," Kyla explained, her voice husky. "The patterns will show the potential strength of our offspring." David watched in amazement as the patterns began to pulse in sync with their heartbeats. "And if we're not compatible—" "Oh, my magnificent hunter," she pressed against him, her skin glowing softly in the dim light. "After everything you've demonstrated today, do you really have any doubts?" The patterns on the walls began to swirl more intensely as they came together, their forms casting dancing shadows across the ancient stone. The music seemed to flow through them, guiding their movements in an intimate echo of their combat dance. Hours later, the temple erupted in gasps of awe as the bioluminescent patterns exploded in unprecedented brilliance, visible even from outside. The elders rushed to consult ancient records, finding no previous instance of such a powerful response. "The chamber has spoken," the head elder proclaimed to the waiting crowd. "Their union will bring forth strength our people have never seen." Inside the chamber, Kyla traced the now fading combat marks on David's chest. her expression one of complete contentment. "A hunter like you truly deserves to pass on his genes," she murmured, echoing her first words to him, but now filled with even deeper meaning. "You know," David said, holding her close, "when I was dropped into your jungle for those survival trials, I never expected to end up founding a new bloodline. And I never expected to find my perfect mate while evaluating a human candidate," she replied with a satisfied smile. "Though I must admit, watching you survive against all odds, seeing your raw power tempered with intelligence, it was incredibly attractive." The chamber's patterns shifted again, forming images of what appeared to be DNA strands intertwining in beautiful, unprecedented configurations. "Twins!" Kyla suddenly gasped, her hand moving to her abdomen as her natural ability to sense conception kicked in. "By the ancient hunters, we're having twins!" David's eyes widened. "Already? Is that normal?" She laughed, her joy echoing off the temple walls. "Nothing about you is normal, my beloved hunter. You've exceeded every expectation, broken every record, and now..." She kissed him deeply. "You've given me not one, but 2 new lives to carry." "I hope they inherit your laugh," he said softly, realizing how completely he'd fallen for this amazing warrior woman. "And your survival skills, Chippy," she added. "Though perhaps we should wait a while before dropping them alone in the jungle." 3 months after their union, the political landscape of the hunting clans had transformed as dramatically as Kyla's growing form. The great hall of the chief Huntress, once austere and traditional, now displayed a fascinating blend of human and alien aesthetics, symbolizing the changes sweeping through their society. David stood at the balcony overlooking the training grounds, where young hunters practiced a new hybrid combat style that incorporated his innovations from the ritual fight. Below, a group of alien scientists huddled around monitoring equipment, studying every aspect of what they called the Great Merger. "Enjoying the view, my magnificent hunter?" Kyla's voice carried its usual sultry tone as she approached, her pregnant form somehow making her even more alluring. She wore an adapted version of her ceremonial garments, designed to accommodate her changing body while maintaining her authority as chief huntress. "Just watching our little revolution unfold," he replied, pulling her close. "Though I'm still getting used to being called the genetic pioneer by your scientists." She laughed, the sound still sending shivers down his spine. "What did you expect? The twins are developing faster and stronger than any pregnancy in our recorded history. Their genetic scans show possibilities we never imagined." The medical wing had become a constant hub of activity since their first prenatal examination. The unique combination of human adaptability and alien strength had produced something extraordinary, embryos that showed signs of enhanced abilities from both the species. "Lord Carnvore's face when the High Council granted us permission to establish a new hunting academy," David chuckled. "I thought he might actually explode." "He had no choice," Kyla said with satisfaction. "After our twins' genetic potential was revealed, every clan wanted access to human genetic diversity. You've single-handedly revolutionized our bee-draking program." "You make it sound so romantic," he teased, earning a playful swat. "Oh? Would you prefer I describe how watching you train our young hunters makes me want to drag you back to our chambers?" "Chief Huntress!" A young messenger burst onto the balcony, then blushed deeply at interrupting their intimate moment. "Apologies, but the clan council requests your immediate presence. Both of you." They found the council chamber packed with clan leaders, their faces showing varying degrees of excitement and concern. At the center stood Rethvor, who had surprisingly become one of their strongest supporters after his defeat. "The genetic reports are confirmed," he announced as they entered. "The twins carry markers indicating enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and potential telepathic abilities never seen in our species." "This changes everything," an elder declared. "Our traditions of genetic selection through combat trials were meant to strengthen our bloodlines, but this exceeds all expectations. Which is why," another elder added, "we propose establishing a formal alliance with Earth's governments. We need more human candidates for our draking program." David raised an eyebrow. "You might want to work on your sales pitch. Come to our planet for combat trials and bee draking might not go over well with human diplomatic corps." Laughter rippled through the chamber, another change his presence had brought. The traditionally stoic council meetings now regularly included humor and casual exchanges. "Perhaps," Kyla suggested, her hand resting on her swollen abdomen, We should focus first on preparing for these two arrivals. They will be the bridge between our peoples, the first of a new kind of hunter. The twins chose that moment to kick vigorously, their movement visible even through Kyla's garments. The council members gasped in awe. "Strong already," David noted proudly, "just like their mother." "And survivors," Kyla added, "like their father." A young clan leader stepped forward. "We've analyzed the combat techniques you demonstrated in the ritual fight. Combined with our traditional methods, they form a superior fighting style. We request that you help establish a new training protocol." "Careful," David warned with a grin. "Keep talking like that and people might think humans have something valuable to offer besides genetics." "You've proven that already," Rethvor interjected. "Your victory wasn't just about physical prowess. It was about adaptation, innovation, and respect for our ways while bringing your own strength. That's what we need for our future." Kyla beamed with pride. "And to think, I found him half naked in a river, surviving our deadliest trials through sheer determination." "Best performance review I've ever had," David quipped, earning more laughter from the council. As the meeting continued, discussing plans for the future and preparations for the twins' arrival, David reflected on how much had changed in just 3 months. He'd gone from being a trial participant to a respected leader, from a potential mate to a beloved husband, and soon to a father of what might be the most genetically gifted children in the galaxy. The Temple of Life pulsed with an otherworldly glow as Kyla entered her final hours of pregnancy. Ancient traditions dictated that significant births take place in this sacred space, where the bioluminescent patterns could read and respond to the genetic potential of newborns. Never before had the patterns swirled with such intensity. David paced the outer chamber, his usual confidence tempered by anticipation and concern. The medical team had been amazed by the accelerated development of the twins, just 5 months instead of the usual 9 for either species. "The patterns are unprecedented," the High Priestess marveled, watching the swirling lights. "Even before their birth, your children are rewriting our understanding of genetic possibility." Rethvor, who had become their unlikely ally and friend, stood guard at the temple entrance. The gathering outside grows larger by the minute. Every clan has sent representatives to witness this historic moment. A powerful surge of energy rippled through the temple walls, accompanied by Kyla's voice. Not in pain, but in triumph. "David, they're ready!" He rushed to her side, finding her surrounded by a cocoon of living light. Her pale blue skin seemed to glow from within, her white hair floating as if in a gentle breeze despite the still air. "By all the ancient hunters," the chief medical officer breathed, checking his instruments. "The genetic melding is perfect. These children will have the best of both worlds." Kyla reached for David's hand, her grip powerful but controlled. "Our little warriors are eager to meet their father," she said with a fierce smile. "They have your impatience." The birth itself was remarkably quick, as if the twins had inherited their father's talent for efficient problem-solving. The boy emerged first, his skin a fascinating marble of human tones, and his mother's pale blue, with a full head of white hair that seemed to shimmer with hidden energy. "Strong lungs," David commented as their son announced his arrival with a powerful cry that made the temple crystals resonate. Minutes later, their daughter joined them, her appearance a mirror complement of her brother's. He predominantly blue-skinned with patches of human coloring, and hair the same rich brown as her father's, but with streaks of luminescent white. The temple's patterns erupted in a spectacular light show, forming images of ancient hunters, great beasts, and future possibilities. The High Priestess fell to her knees in awe. "The prophecy," she whispered. The ancient texts spoke of children who would bridge worlds and herald a new age of hunting prowess. "We thought it mere legend." Kyla cradled both infants with natural grace, her expression radiant. "Look at them, my love. Perfect hunters already. They track their way into the world with remarkable precision." David touched his daughter's tiny hand and felt an immediate mental connection, a sense of recognition and belonging that took his breath away. The boy reached out as well, and suddenly all 4 of them were linked in a moment of shared consciousness. "Telepathic abilities from birth," the medical officer noted excitedly. "And look at these readings. Their muscle density, neural development, everything is off the charts." "They're beautiful," David said softly, overwhelmed by both the physical and mental connection with his new family. "Have you thought about names?" Kyla nodded. "In our tradition, Children of great destiny receive names from both the past and future. She looked down at their son. This is Talon Drake, named for the legendary hunter who first united the clans. Then to their daughter, and this is Aurora Catal, for the dawn of our new era. The babies responded to their names with synchronized coos that made the temple lights dance. Outside, the gathered crowds gasped as the temple's exterior began to glow with unprecedented brilliance. "The marks!" Rethavor exclaimed, pointing to faint patterns appearing on the twin Sarkonisoi skin. Similar to the ceremonial combat marks David had worn, but these were natural, shifting slightly like living tattoos. "They're born with the signs of master hunters." The high priestess approached, her voice thick with emotion. "These children are more than just heirs to the chief huntress. They are living proof that humanity's strength can elevate our people to new heights." She turned to David. "You were not just chosen for your genes, but for your spirit. A spirit that will live on in these magnificent creatures." Kyla looked up at David with eyes full of love and pride. "I told you that first day in the river. A hunter like you deserves to pass on his genes. But even I couldn't have imagined just how spectacular the result would be." 1 year after their birth, Talon and Aurora had developed far beyond anyone's expectations. The twins, now resembling active toddlers, displayed abilities that amazed both human and alien observers. The Great Hall of the Chief Huntress had been modified to accommodate their unique training needs, combining traditional hunting exercises with spaces for their emerging talents. David watched in amazement as Aurora levitated her training spear, her brown hair with luminescent streaks floating in response to her telepathic energy. Beside her, Talon demonstrated perfect aim with his miniature bow, his marbled blue and human skin patterns shifting with each successful hit. "They're showing off for the human delegation again," Kyla commented with amusement, sliding her arms around her mate from behind. Her hunting garments now incorporated elements of Earth fashion, symbolizing the successful merger of their cultures. "Can you blame them?" David turned to kiss her, still captivated by her beauty. It's not every day they get to impress their grandparents. Through the chamber's massive windows, they could see the Earth diplomatic shuttle landing. Among its passengers were David's parents, making their first visit to see their extraordinary grandchildren. The past year had been filled with delicate negotiations, cultural exchanges, and the establishment of the first Human Hunter Academy. "Grandmother!" Aurora's mental projection reached everyone in the room, her excitement palpable. Talon added his own telepathic welcome, creating a harmonious dual broadcast that made the adults smile. "Still can't believe they're speaking in full sentences already," David marveled. "And the telepathy—" "They take after their father in exceeding expectations," Kyla purred, her hand tracing the ceremonial marks that had become permanent on his skin, a sign of his elevated status among her people. The great doors opened to admit the Earth delegation, led by David's parents. His mother's eyes immediately welled with tears of joy at the sight of her grandchildren, while his father stood speechless, watching Talon demonstrate a perfect hunting stance. "Welcome to our world, Wano," Kyla greeted them warmly. The past year had softened the formal protocols between their peoples, replacing them with genuine warmth and understanding. "They're incredible," David's mother breathed, kneeling to embrace the twins. The children's natural ability to project feelings of love and acceptance immediately put her at ease with their exotic appearance. Rethavor, now the head of the new joint training program, stepped forward with the latest development reports. Their growth and abilities continue to surpass all projections. They're already showing combat awareness equal to our junior hunters, and their genetic stability has opened new possibilities for human-hunter integration. "The first group of human candidates arrives next week," David added, watching his father examine the training equipment with fascination. "All volunteers, all fully briefed on our customs and expectations. And all single, I presume?" His mother asked with a knowing smile, having fully embraced the idea of interspecies relationships after seeing her grandchildren's gifts. "The genetic compatibility programs are strictly voluntary," Kyla assured her. "Though after seeing our little ones, interest has been significant." A soft chime interrupted them, the signal for the twins' daily jungle training. Both children immediately perked up, their hunting marks glowing with anticipation. "Would you like to observe?" David offered his parents. "They're starting basic survival training." "At 1 year old?" his father asked, incredulous. Kyla laughed. "Their fathers survived our deadliest trials alone. Our children merely play in a controlled environment, developing their instincts naturally. The family moved to the observation deck overlooking a specially designed training jungle. Below, the twins moved with incredible grace for their age, their inherited abilities working in perfect harmony. Aurora's telepathy warned of approaching challenges, while Talon's enhanced strength and agility helped them navigate the terrain. "They're perfect," David's mother whispered, watching her grandchildren master obstacles that would challenge adult humans. "They're the future," Kyla corrected gently, "the best of both worlds, proving that humanity's potential is greater than anyone imagined." David pulled her close, remembering their first meeting in that river. "All because you saw something special in a half-naked human surviving your trials. And now look at us, parents, diplomats, and founders of a new era of human-hunter relations." She kissed him deeply, ignoring the diplomatic audience. "Though, I must say, I still enjoy seeing you half-naked in the jungle." "Mother." Aurora's mental voice carried a child's embarrassment at parental affection, making everyone laugh. The twins completed their training course in record time, their natural hunting abilities enhanced by their unique genetic gifts. As they rejoined their family, their marks glowing with achievement, David realized how far they'd all come. From a chance encounter in a jungle river to a love that transformed two species, from survival trials to diplomatic treaties, from forbidden attraction to a family that embodied the best of both worlds. "A hunter like that deserves to pass on his genes," Kyla repeated her first words about him, now rich with fulfilled promise. "And look at the magnificent legacy we've created." David gazed at his extraordinary family, his powerful, beautiful mate, their gifted children, and the bridged worlds they represented. "We're just getting started," he promised, feeling the twins' telepathic agreement and Kyla's surge of love. The future stretched before them, full of possibilities as humanity and hunters forged a new path together. And it all began with one man's determination to survive, one woman's appreciation of strength, and their shared destiny to create something unprecedented in the galaxy.